Honourable Rachel Brooking.
Noting the last speaker then saying that enough is enough and that this bill will fix everything, I think that's slightly ambitious, but we're all agreeing that this is a problem that we all agree needs some fixing. We think that some more fixing will be needed in addition to this bill. But what that problem is, Madam Speaker, is that we have too many carbon emissions. We have too much pollution from carbon and also methane, and this is a problem. So, some time ago, the ETS was established, and it was thought that it was better to give people an avenue to offset rather than really focusing on that decarbonisation. So, rather than changing our vehicle fleet from oil-based, petrol-based cars and trucks to electric or hydrogen, the focus became about planting these trees, these pine trees, that people could make money from. And so, of course, that focus on offsets has made people make sensible financial decisions. We heard the Honourable Mark Patterson speak before about a piece of farmland that he owns where he planted some trees, because that is what the economics was telling him to do. Not that he had to do it, but it makes good financial sense and people will follow the incentives. So that is a problem with the ETS and with our focus always on these offsets. And of course, Madam Speaker, that is why we're interested in this change to disincentivise these carbon forests on farmland. Farmland that, as the Minister said, is good food producing land. And I think it's important to also note that here we're talking about carbon forestry, and only exotic carbon forestry. So these are pine trees that are planted to stay put. They might be harvested once, but then they're going to stay in the ground. It's different from plantation forestry, whereby foresters are out there planting the trees and then planning to cut them down and to make other things out of them or to export them. So that's an important thing to note, as well as this offsets versus decarbonisation, the net versus the gross. The bill is interesting. It sets up some things that I wasn't expecting to see in a bill like this, like the ballot system that my colleague, Honourable Dr Deborah Russell, has talked about. A lot of the bill, maybe about half of the bill, is about that ballot system. There's also a lot in the bill about mapping, and mapping is something that I probably was expecting to see in a bill like this. And there's also a lot of regulatory powers in here as well. So these are all things, along with the transitional provisions. And we heard the Minister say, well, we made the statement back last year that we were going to stop whole farm conversions to carbon forestry, and so that feeds into the transitional provisions that are found right at the back of the bill. But it does seem that there will be, that these transitional provisions are not nearly as clear as they could be, and that is something that we will want to explore in the Select Committee. And I want to here speak briefly on the fact that it is going to the Environment Select Committee, and that is good. The Environment Select Committee normally deals with climate change issues. However, the report back is only the 30th of August, which is not much time, but it is better than all stages urgency, which of course this government likes to do. But I'm not sure why there is so much need for a rush at this stage of the process when the bill is going to be at Select Committee. And that is because we see in the appendix to the regulatory impact statement that there was a regulatory impact statement in October of 2024. And then I acknowledge that Cabinet made decisions later in March 2025, but this has been in development for some time, yet the Select Committee is only going to get it for a very short period of time so that it can come into operation by October 2025. And I think that speed is problematic because it is more complicated than it might sound at first.
Grant McCullum.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Sorry, Dodge Grant, we're not going to be listening to you. And probably you'll sit down there and talk about a bunch of twaddle and say about the police coming to arrest your wife for wage theft.
Jesus, okay. Yeah, so I agree with this comment.
Yeah, go Soraya.
Yeah,
I wonder or I wonder what was it called? Is it Michael typing? We don't know which one of the two.
Whoever it is, I agree with them because
we'll probably end up finding out now which one's the one watching on the computer.
Yeah. But I do agree with them. You know, what we really need to do is have a systemic approach to reducing emissions, because even if we did all this stuff, right? Yes, Soraya is absolutely correct as well. Yes, and this is what annoys me.
I actually know someone who actually planted a lot of macadamia nut trees around his property that sheep graze on.
Yeah, but hear me out. Soraya has a really good point. Our orchards are not included, right? Orchards.
I wonder if Soraya knows my friend, was it Chris Jury and Daniela Crum from Waitra?
I don't know, but
I will find out.
Michael in bed already. He's up at 3 8. Yeah, I thought as much.
Sounds like he's milking cows.
He's a farmer. Of course he's in bed.
Yeah.
by the way, this was a similar work schedule I had when I was in forestry. You're up at 3 a.m. You got to get all your gear. You got to get your big fuck off chainsaw into the back of the vehicle, and you got to drive off to work, which is like an hour away.
Yeah. That sounds about right, because there's always all the forestry workers who used to come into BP Levin. Always came in at about 4 a.m. in the morning. They were filling up their chainsaws, filling up their petrol cans, everything, and buying up pies, buying up coffees, and then you'll be gone, and then you'll see them 24 hours later doing the same thing again. Yeah,
because that's how long it takes to get from work and load up all your gear and everything, and then you got to start at like around about 7 a.m.
Yeah. And a lot of the forestry stuff they were doing was at the back bullocks of Tokomaru at the time. Yeah.
But yeah, like I said before, Soraya is. I would love for carbon credits to cover your tree proteins, because that would be fantastic.
Put that in our submission.
Yeah, put that in the submission, because you've got a day to still submit on this.
Yes, and then we can sit there and see if we can get macadamia nut trees put in there, because of what Chris Jury did up in Whitetra.
Yeah,
who is ironically friends with Celia Way Brown.
Oh, okay. So it is the way how it's set up. Carbon credits are set up is really dumb, because, like I said before, you end up with the situation where, okay, farmers are screwed either way. We plant less, so we've got less carbon being offset, right? You've still got issues with climate change. Or you keep the system, and companies still have the means to offset their carbon production and buy up all this farmland and screw over farmers, right? Farmers have lost the means to produce. Or there is another one. There is another third option, and I think this is going to be what we're going to run into, is we're going to have to end up buying carbon credits from overseas. So it's like, oh yeah, okay, we're just going to have to buy from India or China or Russia, or it's just a bad system. I hate it. Yeah. We've got to lower emissions systemically. We can't just keep throwing our shit to someone else.
Yeah, so true.
Like, the free market can't fix everything. Sorry.
That's right. Now it's time to move on from talking about trees to the Victims of Sexual Violence Strengthening Legal Protections Legislation Bill, third reading.
Wow.